He has a degree on political science from the University of Rome, specialized in industrial economics at the International University Institute of Luxembourg and international economic relations at the Brookings Institute in Washington. Then we have with us a very important person that could give a global overview about this concept of entrepreneurship in this globalized world. Please, it's a pleasure to have with you, and you have the floor.
Indeed, universities are in a phase of change. They must change. For me, universities are facing a problem of restructuring similar to the one that the coal and steel industry went through 30 years ago. Why? In the first place, you know, we are living in the so-called knowledge-based economy. At the heart of the knowledge-based economy, there is creativity, on the one hand. Therefore, universities have to stimulate the creativity. And this is, in the first place, a big challenge. First, and then another key feature of the knowledge economy is the rapid obsolescence of knowledge. Rapid obsolescence of knowledge means that while once upon a time you could concentrate knowledge in 4, 5, 6 years of university and live out of this accumulated knowledge for 20, 30 years, now you have to renovate, upgrade, upskill your knowledge all the time. This is why there is a need to a constant interaction between work and study, and universities have to adapt to this new reality. Thomas Friedman, a famous journalist from the New York Times, once came out with an article called "The Oil Well of Israel." Which is the oil well of Israel? The Negev University, Ben Gurion, which is a university that has a new architecture, in the sense that at the Negev universities, different faculties, medicine, architecture, veterinary, they are professors and teachers converge under the same dome. And the interaction between different disciplines and different cultures has given birth of a surge of innovation. And that is also what has contributed to make Israel a startup nation. A country, 7 million inhabitants, that has more high-tech companies listed to the NASDAQ than the whole of Europe, with more than 500 million inhabitants. The university, Frank Gehry, the author of the Guggenheim in Bilbao, who contributed to the rebirth of that city, is now it's under construction in Sydney, the new campus of the Technical University in that city. And the concept is the same. It's the tree where all the faculties converge so that they could facilitate the mixing. So I would say the first challenge of university is an architectural one, in the sense that we have now built universities with a faculty of medicine there, a faculty of economy there, of engineering there. So the idea of that was the logic of the specialization that was born from the encyclopedia. For 200 years, That is the system that works. The radical change of the universities that as a factory of diplomas for 200 years in the industrial society does not work anymore so well in the post-industrial society, where new challenges are facing. Plus, in Europe in particular countries of Europe, we have seen over the last 30 years a mushrooming of universities. In a number of countries, the number of universities have doubled and tripled because everyone wanted the university nearby his home. This has spread mediocrity in a field in which people search excellence. Why mediocrity? Because excellence is given by concentration. It's given by concentration of knowledge. The more knowledge is concentrated, the greater the interaction and the capacity to excel. Plus, there has been a phenomenon of universities as social elevator. There has been, I remember in France, there was in '85, Chevènement, a minister who was proposing that a target that if you want progress, because this was in the culture of socialism, originally socialist, Jules Ferry and so on, they have been promoted education as a way to educate to democracy. But the idea of making by 2020, by the year 2000, 80% of students going to university, and ideally everybody to go to the university. This has created a situation whereby the universities have had assumed a social role to allow the son of the peasant, of the blue-collar worker, to become doctor, licenciado. That's to have a status. It doesn't matter if you are unemployed. And if you have a status, you cannot accept a job at a lower status. This is why we have a situation, somebody said, there is youth unemployment in Europe. It's not true. False. There is no youth unemployment in Germany, Switzerland, Austria, Netherlands, Denmark. Youth unemployment exists in France, in Spain, in Italy, in Portugal, in the UK, in Ireland, in those countries that don't have the dual system. And that is a problem. The dual system means that at the age of 10, teachers and families decide whether you are going to the apprenticeship system at the age of 16, or you go through gymnasium, abitur, and a university. So this is considered in Spain, in Italy, it's considered authoritarian, Teutonic, because kids have to choose what they would like. This is Dr. Spock, Freud, and so on, ideology that has produced disasters. The current youth unemployment in a number of countries is the result of this ideology, an ideology of free choice that has led a generation of parents to give up the role of guidance to kids, and a role of guidance that has been, to a large extent, lost also by the educational system. This is why universities are facing a great deal of challenges, not to mention MOOCs, massive open online courses that are taking a great deal of importance in a number of countries. Not to mention the fact that today there are in the world 4.5 million international students. We at the OECD, we used to call them lucrative overseas students because there are from the new bourgeoisie of the emerging countries is ready to pay for their kids to go in the best universities around the world. The Minister of Education and Research of Australia last week told me that education is the third export of Australia after mining and farming. Last year they made $15 billion of export. Australia gets 6% of this. It's the number one in the world in getting these international students, but they are worried. They are worried because in 10 years ago, there was no Chinese universities among the 200 best. Now there are 10. Australia had 17, now has 8. So the competition among universities to grasp a slice of these international students is a big challenge as well. So the challenges faced by universities are widespread, and this is why the concept of entrepreneurial universities is an interesting and important one, and this is why the OECD, that, as you know, has carried out the PISA and PIAC program. PISA is, you may know, it concerns the 15-year-old students, intellectual capacities, but even worse is the PIAC, because it's adult, which surveys came out last October, surveys the reading and math capacities of adult people between 25 and 64. And for some countries like Italy and Spain, the situation was catastrophic, because it came out that 20% of the population has a reading capacity equivalent to a child 10 years old. And 1/3 of adult people have problems with basic math. This is particularly dramatic and poses challenges and problems to university in the sense that if you are not able to upskill and reskill your workforce, you are out of work. The problem is not just the people that are at work that don't get into the work, but those who have a job will get will be made redundant in this global context. This is why, but the basic, the 90% of the workforce is in small, medium-sized enterprises. But industry-university relationship historically has been between large firms and universities, not small business. University, how the university can interact with small business. Well, universities can and should interact with small business in the first place because the more and more funding to universities, taxpayers' funding is linked not only, and in some cases not so much, to the capacity, quality and quantity of education, teaching and research, but also on the third mission, on the capacity to support the local economy. Local economy means essentially small business. So universities have to find ways to reach out small business through chambers of commerce, associations, small business, new ways. They have to find new ways to prove that they can have a relevance in sustaining the economic performance of the local economies in which they are based. This is a big challenge for which universities are not equipped today, but they have to make an entrepreneurial effort to engage into that. But more than that, entrepreneurial universities have also to stimulate spin-offs from university to generate new startups, new business. That's there has been over the last 10 years in Europe. There has been a great effort to reduce the cost and time for starting up new business. There were in 2001. There was, it cost 227, on average, 227 euros to start up a company and 22 days. And now it's down to 5.5 days and 372 euros on average. So there has been a massive reduction, although there is in a number of countries there are a lot of hindrances. For instance, many youngsters flock to Berlin and to engage into creative industries. Why? Because in Germany, for instance, until you don't earn more than 17,500 euros net, you don't pay any tax. That is a great, and plus the real estate in Berlin is very cheap as compared to Madrid, Rome, Paris, London. Not London, we don't think. So that is cheap real estate and tax exemption until you don't earn at least 1,500 euros net. This is something, and this simply, it's a very, somebody said, Germany, but Germany has this simplified system which is conducive to entrepreneurship. So that's, this is why I think that there are big challenges that universities have to engage, and that is something in which the European Commission is strongly committed, but Juliet will say more, but I want to say from the OECD that we are very pleased to cooperate with the European Commission to try to make European universities more entrepreneurial. We have created HE, Higher Education Innovate, a tool of self-assessment in order to engage universities in the process of understanding themselves, how they position with regard to entrepreneurship. And we are now going to launch also Entrepreneurship 360, which is a program to assess entrepreneurship in secondary schools and in vocational training systems. I think that these two international organizations working together to try to cooperate and assist the higher education system throughout Europe to make our continent more innovative, more competitive, and capable to generate more jobs. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeffrey Williams from France. You seem to say that you need to concentrate universities to have bigger institutions. Do you think that really works, or does that not just add extra bureaucracy for the researcher, because a good researcher now in many disciplines doesn't need a university? We work global. If we're going to really develop research, we've got to have networks which take individuals in different places who can use internet technology, and we'll work that way. We can work in a virtual research environment and the university becomes irrelevant.
I think that the personal, physical interaction is something that is very important. You know, teleconferencing has been in existence for more than 20 years. This has not stopped people to travel a lot. Why? Because in research as well as in entrepreneurship, a crucial factor is trust. This is why we say a high-tech economy is a high-trust society. You need, for building trust, you need to establish a sort of an understanding with another person. There are some energies when there is a physical encounter between two people that is not the same that it occurs through the net with the video. The issue of trust is absolutely important. This is why, for instance, if I remember well, it's the chief executive of Yahoo has forbidden now the telework or working from home, because they have assessed that the physical presence in the office produces a greater gain for the university. So I think the idea that you can avoid the physical presence in one place is, I don't think that you can do everything through through the net. The physical interaction is something that has always been at the heart of the creative process, of the learning process. I saw in many instances, for instance, in my own country, in Italy, when people was posted in remote areas, in Sardinia, in Calabria, for a professorship, then they were concentrating the lessons for a few days, and then they ran back to Rome or Milan or Turin, because there is the interaction, the other people with whom it can grow, because this interaction is absolutely essential.